With our Google Drive storage limits coming into play now, with a 100 gig limit on our staff and a 25 gig limit on our students, it's important to know some different strategies for cleaning up things in your drive and not duplicating files that you don't need to duplicate. And one good way is shortcuts. So let's take a look at that and a couple other options you might have. When you're looking in your Google Drive, you've got a bunch of files and folders here, of course. And when I look over on the far left-hand side, I see things like shared drives and shared with me. And these are files that I don't actually own necessarily. Now, if I'm looking in my own drive, say, I scroll down and just find something at random here, I can right-click on anything I want, and I have a bunch of options on this menu here, including adding a shortcut to drive. So if I had a file in a particular folder that belonged to, I don't know, a certain project, say, and then I decided that, well, this file is also applicable to a completely different project or a completely different group of people that I might be sharing a folder with or something like that. Rather than making a copy of that file, and now I've got two distinct versions of that file, what I want to do is just add a shortcut to my drive. And that's going to be a link to the exact same file. That helps with all of our collaboration and such as well, because we're always going to have one version of the file. So I can click Add a Shortcut, and immediately it pops up a little window basically saying, where do you want to put this? So I can go to my drive, and I'll just use my example files folder right now. I can go ahead and say Add a Shortcut. And that's in this case, what did I pick? AODA Compliance. So if I add a shortcut, and then I go up my screen here to my example files, what I will see is the AOD compliance meeting right there with a little arrow on it. So that's how I know right away this is a shortcut to another file. This is not the actual file itself. But I can make as many of those shortcuts as I want. I can shortcut it in 4, 5, 6 different folders if I want to. Now, in terms of things that people are sending to me, if I'm looking at my shared with me stuff, and I pick a random thing, like here, this got shared this morning. It's an agenda for a meeting coming up in a week. Well, I can right click that and I can decide, let's see, when I look at my list, first thing I see is add to workspace. This is another option that I've got. Workspaces are something that I would find here in my priority section of Drive. They're kind of like pseudo folders. They're a way to collect a bunch of different files from different places and kind of keep them all in one place for when I need them, and then I can go ahead and just rename or remove this workspace completely. Doing that doesn't hurt those files at all. It's kind of like a temporary little window to see and access all these files quickly in one place without actually moving them around or creating shortcuts at all. So certainly workspaces is one of my options, but when I come here below add workspace, the next one of course I see is add a shortcut to drive. So same thing. This could be a file in this case that's been shared with me. I can decide, you know what, I'm going to add a shortcut to this in my drive, and it's for an upcoming meeting, so I'm going to put that over in my admin folder here. I think I have something for meeting agendas, or I'll go with memos. Say it's a memo. I can add that shortcut to my memos folder. And then I'm not, like I say, making a copy of that file anywhere. I'm just linking to it and putting it in a place where I'm going to find it when I start thinking about it again. When I right click that one more time, let's see, I mentioned, sorry, workspaces, you've got shortcuts to drive. The other option you have on this right click menu is your starred list. So your starred list is a lot like bookmarking a file. Very similar again, by clicking that little button, I don't get to pick what folder it goes to, so I don't have the same level of organization that I would with shortcuts. But what I do get is along my left side here, I have this starred page, and under starred is just all those things that I've added a star to, and you can see that next to all of them. Now they might be a file that's been shared with me and is owned by somebody else. That might be a file that's coming from a team drive that none of us really own, or it could be just something somebody has shared with me. So lots of different things here, things that I've created myself. It just depends on where it is and why you put it here. Now, I always say try and keep your your starred list short. I'm obviously not doing a great job of that myself. I always want to keep that list relatively small as things that I'm sort of regularly actively using. So I need to go in there and clean that up once in a while. But basically, any of those files that you've got in your own drive or shared with you, you're going to have options for linking them basically in different ways. And so using that ability to create a shortcut and put it wherever you want is great for organization. but it's also going to allow you to save a lot more space in your drive because now you're not having to think about how many copies you have and how much room that's taking up, whether these are image files or Word documents, or in this case, a Google file. By making that shortcut, you retain that collaboration piece and that single version option, but even more important in this case, you're actually keeping your storage low because you only have one copy of that particular file. So go ahead and use priority spaces and add shortcuts, and you're going to save yourself a whole bunch of space.